What if I go and withdraw some money and there's an extra 30 bands in there? Are you going to take it out or what? Or are you going to tell me, yo, my money, this ain't it. I only really got 30 cents. We about to find out. Let's get it in. But first, you know what to do.
Here are a few of the weirdest things that can happen while doing banking. Number 10. Sara Daizli. Sara Daizli made Australian and international headlines not just for her bank fraud, but for her fashionable arrest. She made an effort to get arrested in style, wearing a slim gray onesie and gold designer slides. Authorities charged her with 112 fraud-related offenses, which is a pretty impressive amount of scamming. She used fake documents to submit loan applications and launder $500,000. Sara worked at the same bank she scammed and used her managerial position to steal cash and transfer it to fake accounts she controlled. If you're going to commit fraud, then there's no better job than working at the bank you're trying to scam. She cried in court when she learned that the judge denied her bail, meaning that she'd have to spend Christmas behind bars. However, Sara's criminal life goes deeper than stealing cash from bank accounts. Her husband, David Sakar, is a convicted drug dealer tied to Australian organized crime. And those 112 charges we mentioned are on top of 15 other charges brought against her a year before. Number 9. Robert Pipes. Robert Pipes, a man from West Monroe, Louisiana, ended up with this mugshot after attempting to cash a fraudulent check. Maybe he could have gotten away with it, but people are bound to remember your face when you look like this. According to the arrest papers, the bank called the police after Robert left. The manager told them that Robert walked in and tried to cash a fake check. The check was for $1,941.16. Maybe Pipes thought writing the check for an oddly specific amount of money would make it seem more realistic, or maybe he just needed that exact amount of money for something. Either way, it didn't end up working out for him. Pipes told the police that it wasn't his fault. He claimed 2 guys had offered to pay him $200 to cash some checks. He said he knew the checks were bad, but he was drunk at the time, so he agreed to do it anyway. Pipes said that the guys dropped him off at the bank and then left. Nobody ever tracked down these masterminds, so it's unknown if they were real or just a creation of Pipes' drunken imagination. Number 8. Cassandra Morales. Cassandra Morales was arrested after police uncovered her unique bank scheme. She used random homeless people she found on the street to help her commit financial fraud. Morales had them go into banks, open an account, and deposit fake checks into those accounts. Then she'd come in and withdraw the money, transferring it to her account. She withdrew over $20,000 in just a few months with this scam, which she ran 26 different times. To avoid detection, Morales had the homeless person open up an account using the minimum cash required. Then, once the account was open, they would only deposit fraudulent checks worth less than $200. Amounts that low don't automatically trigger red flags in the bank system. Eventually, the banks caught on, and police identified Morales and a man she was often with as the primary suspects. They couldn't hide behind their homeless pawns forever. At some point, they had to get the money for themselves, exposing their real identities.
Right, because like, yo, you're going to get that money. You go into an ATM. Like, money is going to be transferred. Like, this is hard. You feel me? But, I mean, she ran it up. 20 bands. That's pretty good.
Number 7. Etti Alon. In 2002, Etti Alon confessed to stealing 250 million shekels from Trade Bank in Israel.
Now we talking. Jeez. I don't even know how much is shekels.
She stole the money from customers over 5 years, but hardly spent any of it on herself. Alon stole the money for her brother, Ofer Maximov, to pay off his gambling debts to different organized crime groups in Israel. She tried to save his life and wound up in jail because of it. Both were sentenced for fraud and spent 15 years in jail for their parts in the scheme. Alon's theft was so big that it collapsed the entire bank and cost Israel $500 million shekels in deposit insurance. Alon's scam was so profound that it shook the very fabric of Israel organized crime, redrawing the map of the criminal underground as we know it.
Zammy Zams.
Low-level crooks rose to power overnight, with the millions flowing through their illegal casinos. According to Israeli police, the money circulated through the underground economy. It ended up in the pockets of loan sharks, gamblers, crime bosses, and other people who had some slice of Maximov's debts. The money stolen sparked gang wars that lasted for years afterwards. Those wars spilled over into the United States as police busted several arms of the Israeli mafia in Los Angeles. Number 6. June.
Now she went in. Shekels is big time. Man.
Junior and senior. These next entries align with the more traditional bank scam. You can do all kinds of fun things with your dad, like going to baseball games or arguing about politics. Anthony Inarella Sr. decided bank fraud made for a great bonding activity to try with his son,
All right, let's check
Anthony
it out.
Inarella Jr. They were arrested together after they tried to withdraw thousands of dollars from a fake bank account they set up. The manager at the Wells Fargo that they tried to scam called the cops on them after they tried to take out $18,000.
There we go. 18,000 in cash. Like, yo, that's bad business. Come on, man. If what they say, 10, but you know that's a lie. So you really gotta go less than that. Like, come on, man. They was wilding out.
Dollars in cash. Taking out 18 grand in cash isn't normal customer behavior, making the bank rightfully suspicious. Who needs 18 grand in cash other than criminals and people being blackmailed by criminals? The manager told them he had to verify a few things and he could not give them the money right then and there. Anthony Sr. left his phone number with the manager, telling him to call when the money was ready. Instead, the manager called the cops. Police caught up to the father-son team and found what they called a large sum of cash along with several fake IDs. Apparently, they'd committed similar crimes in a nearby country. They were charged with larceny, criminal impersonation, identity theft, and forgery. They should have just thrown the old pigskin around if they wanted to have some bonding time. The court set their bail at $250,000. Number 5. Jamari Britain. Jamari Britain's getaway driver called the cops on him after robbing several banks in Florida. However, his getaway driver never got in any high-speed chases. It was an Uber driver who'd spent the day driving Britain around town. Britain Ubered from bank to bank trying to withdraw money from accounts that weren't his using stolen IDs. When he got arrested, he told police that his name was Andre and handed them a driver's license listing his name as Andre Rodriguez. He claimed he was withdrawing all this cash for a music video, which was a pretty clever excuse. It's pretty common to see rappers throwing around lots of cash in music videos. When police found him, Britain had several different IDs on him. 4 were his, and 3 were completely different people. They charged him with possessing a counterfeit driver's license, giving false ID to law enforcement, fraud, and illegal use of a credit card. These aren't the most common crimes, so at least he gets points for being a little creative. Maybe next time he'll hire an actual getaway driver instead of calling it Uber. Number 4. Robert and Tiffany Williams. Robert and Tiffany Williams, a couple from Pennsylvania, faced felony theft charges when their bank accidentally deposited $120,000 into their account.
There we go. Now, come on, their bank accidentally? Let's get to it.
It was the bank's fault, but the couple spent most of it and actively avoided the bank's calls, quickly turning a random mistake into a legal problem. According to police, they bought an SUV, a camper, 2 four-wheelers, and a car trailer. It sounds like they used the money to plan a sick camping trip. They even gave $15,000 to a friend in need. But how did they get the money in the first place? Somebody did deposit $120,000. However, the bank teller typed in an account number wrong. The person who was actually supposed to get the money asked the bank what was going on, and the bank realized that the Williams family ended up with it. In an interview, Robert blamed poor legal advice that he'd gotten from some people. He probably thought the money was theirs to spend if someone accidentally deposited it. With all the checks and balances banks put in place, many questioned how such an egregious mistake could have happened. Then again, we're not too surprised with all the scammers and swindlers we cover on this channel. Check out this video for the full story on Robert and Tiffany Williams here. Number 3. Nick Leeson. Nick Leeson is an English criminal and former derivatives trader. He committed such massive fraud that he single-handedly brought down Barings Bank, the oldest merchant bank in England. Leeson made unauthorized trades with money that was not his, and he had a bold strategy for trying to make sure he always came out on top. Every time he lost money, he doubled the amount on his next trade to recoup his losses. This worked. Well, it worked for a while anyway. Long enough for Leeson's boss to put him in charge of the bank's futures and options office in Singapore. On January 16th, 1995, Leeson placed a short straddle in the Singapore and Tokyo stock exchanges. Basically, he bet that the Japanese stock market would not move significantly overnight. He wasn't supposed to be doing this, legally speaking, but he did it anyway. That night, the Kobe earthquake hit, sending the market into a crazy tailspin and destroying Leeson's plan. He made a series of increasingly risky bets to try and get the money back before anyone noticed, but nothing paid off. Leeson left a note that read, "I'm sorry," and fled Singapore to hide. He lost $1.4 billion of company money, and the bank never recovered. Leeson stayed on the run for a while, moving to Malaysia, and Thailand, and Germany, but eventually he was arrested and imprisoned. To learn more about how Leeson basically hid his mistakes in a special Oops account, check out the full story in this video. Number 2. In 2016, a Malaysian student named Christine spent $4.6 million someone deposited into her bank account. She thought the money was put there by her parents. It wasn't. It was actually put there thanks to her bank fraud scheme. Christine was a chemical engineering student studying in Australia. She was arrested while trying to board a flight with an emergency issue passport and charged with dishonestly obtaining financial advantage by deception and knowingly dealing with the proceeds of crime. Basically, stealing and spending stolen money. Saying that she thought her parents gave her the money is a pretty lousy excuse. How did she do it exactly? She opened an account with Westpac Bank where she received regular deposits that were actually from her parents. Her parents sent her enough money to live off of while she was a student, but not enough to live the crazy life of luxury she was after. After realizing that the account had an unlimited overdraft policy, meaning she could withdraw money that wasn't there, she took money out and sent it to herself on PayPal. Over the next 7 months, she sent herself $4.6 million, bundling some of it into 2 different bank accounts. She used the money to go on shopping sprees, the biggest of which saw her spending $300,000 in a single day. Eventually, she got a little too greedy. The bank noticed something was weird when she transferred over $1 million to PayPal in one day. Number 1. Kellen Spadoni. Kellen Spadoni was arrested in April of 2021 and charged with theft, bank fraud, and the illegal transmission of monetary funds. Those are some hefty charges. So what did she actually do? Well, it wasn't entirely her fault. Spadoni attempted to transfer $82 into her bank account, but Charles Schwab, her financial service company, accidentally transferred more than $1.2 million. She should have contacted the company and told them about the error. That's where she made a very illegal mistake. Spadoni transferred the money to another bank account and then bought a new car and house. However, her spending spree didn't last long and the bank tried to take the money back. She got fired from her job working as a 911 dispatcher. She is currently facing civil charges because Schwab came after her with a case saying she ignored the request to get the money back. Come on, who would want to give back $1 million? The company tried to get in touch with her on numerous occasions, but she ignored them. She can't ignore them anymore, but at least she had a good run while it lasted. Click here to watch one of these next videos.
Yeah, that was crazy. But look, man, that was the bank's fault. You know, if they give away $1 million and she ain't coming back and she ain't trying to give it up, then I mean, hey, what can you do? That was crazy. That's big money. Look, what would you do? Put it in the comments. I already know what I'm gonna do. Look, I'm like her. I'm gonna do the race. All right. Look, there we is. There we go. There we been. And remember, it's cold out here. Bring it in.